Do you remember the old saying, flying by the seat of your pants?
Yeah, I do.
Well, yeah. Artificial intelligence is bringing that to us. The first place that we're going to see it, and you may already have, is in robo-taxis and remote driving, hand-free driving. Right now, you still have to sit behind the wheel, but you've already seen cartoons and animations of there's no wheel for you to steer with. It is full automated driving automobile, and you go where you want to go, and there's nobody in the car but you. Well, get ready for this. The next phase is your airplane, and there, it reminds me of of an old joke that you go on this, you get ready for this long trip, you get on the plane, and the plane takes off, and the traditional announcements come over the PA system. The pilot says, "This is your pilot speaking, and we are on our way to Atlanta, and we've checked all the systems, and everything is under control, under control, under control." you say, who's up front? Well, maybe nobody. My name's Don Creech.
And I'm Perry Sykes, and welcome to the Investor Resources Podcast.
We're not quite there yet, but there's a new plane coming out from, I don't know, Perry, you remember the name here, Auto Aerospace Phantom 3500. It's for the private business market. But I think they still have a pilot in this plane, but it has no windows.
No windows. It's very
How
interesting.
does the pilot know he's coming into the right airport?
Well, commercial pilots already don't need windows. They can fly with no visibility. They can fly by instruments 100%. There's been a big pushback for a long, long time with the window question. Decades ago, Boeing was all in for producing commercial airplanes without windows. They're expensive to put in. They're time consuming to install. They're noisy. They reduce aerodynamics. So the wind resistance makes them costly to fly. But people weren't having it, talking about, well, no, I can't just be in this aluminum tube flying blind through the sky. That's impossible. I need a window to look out. And so the concept went away, and now it's coming full circle again. It's coming right back around, and they're saying, what if we could put up a front to back screen? The entire side of each side of the airplane is going to be 100% visible. Everything outside, if that's what you want to look at, everything above you, if that's what you want to look at, you can see everything outside with far more ease than if you had the little oval you're trying to stare through. The plane's going to burn far less fuel. It's going to be significantly quieter, and it's going to cost less. So what's the downside? Well, now everybody's used to a screen. You guys are watching this podcast on a screen, no problem. Nobody's afraid of looking at a screen or thinking, well, how do I know that's real? So it's like, well, yeah, why aren't we doing that? And they're answering the question, we should do that. This is a very good idea. And here they come. Here they come. No windows, but full coverage screens where you can see everything that's going on outside, or you can see anything you choose. What if you're going to arrive in your destination and wherever you're going, it's at night? Maybe you can just, it'll be night now, wherever you're flying. You can just make it look like night. You can see all the stars as they would be there in real time. You're going to be acclimated to the night sky when you get off the plane, because you flew the whole flight essentially at night inside that airplane. So now your reality is adjustable in there. It's a pretty cool idea, and these days they're not only not getting resistance. It's like, what took so long? Why did it take so long to get here? But it's here now.
Well, so part of the timing problem is a function of what we have available in plasma screens today.
Sure.
If you needed to look at a screen 10 years ago, it was bulky and heavy.
Right.
And today, that's no longer the case, and you can make them as big as you want to pay for them. So that's simplified things quite a bit. One of the other benefits for the companies that are flying these planes is particularly better fuel economy, some as much as a 60% reduction in fuel costs. And how's that come from? Well, you just mentioned part of it. You get rid of the windows and you get rid of some drag.
Mhm.
And that helps a lot. Plus, you're able to use carbon fiber for a lot of the construction. The whole concept of how you put the plane together has changed over the years. I'm sure Boeing likes it. Boeing is making. I haven't seen anything that they're addressing this yet. This is really designed so far for smaller business jets. But
Correct.
once that gets worked out, it's going to end up being applied to bigger models. But it's no different than what's going on with drones. Drones start out as small mini toys. They're now much larger applications, particularly in the military. There's a lot. If you're paying attention to the news in Ukraine, Russia's using drones to attack Ukraine, and Ukraine's using drones to attack Russia.
Right.
I believe it's Qatar. It's not a drone, but it's the application of drone technology. They now have police vehicles that are electric, fly by wire. And
Right.
instead of having to deal with Qatar's apparently horrendous traffic, they can make a police response in minutes instead of what the article said, hours to get someplace. And it just basically is a large drone with a single person cockpit. Now, this does have windows on it so the cop can see where he's going. And I would imagine you could do that with the same technology that auto aircraft is doing, but they're
Sure.
not doing that yet. This one is a more traditional drone that you could play with if you bought one for yourself or the kids to use.
Absolutely. And before we got started, like I said, this whole Windows thing, this has got a lot of inertia that you have to have Windows. It part of it started all the way back with NASA, with the Mercury program, and the astronauts were seeing the first capsule. They were supposed to orbit the Earth, and they were looking at it. And they said, "Well, I can't fly this. There's no windows. How am I supposed to fly this?" And NASA told the astronauts, "Well, you're not really flying anyway. We just need you to ride in there." And they were like, "Oh, no. These were all Air Force fighter pilots." They said, "No, we're flying this and we're having windows, and that's the way that's going to be." So, and NASA had to cave in and say, "Okay, we're going to put in windows, huge extra costs, a lot of extra problems." But that's where that's one of the places where we have to have windows began. And it's taken a long time to come around all the way around to say, you know what, no windows might just be a really superior idea now that we can pull it off. But part of the reason for talking about this is just more and more and more, we are going to see things that we've never seen before, and they're going to come out of nowhere. And initial reaction is going to be, well, that's nuts. Why would you do that? And I would just encourage everyone to take a deep breath, read it again, and think about, maybe this is a good idea. Maybe this is a better idea, because there's going to be a lot of things coming up thanks to AI and engineering advances that we've never seen before, and they're going to be pretty cool. And we're going to need to get used to them. Some of them aren't going to be any good. Some of them aren't going to work out, just like any new technologies. And some of them are going to change the way we do something forever. And it's going to be important to recognize those and get on board.
Well, we have to think of this much before our time. We have to use history to go back and look at this. But at the turn of the last century, back in the 1900s, there were 100 auto companies.
Yes.
How many of them survived the Depression? With three majors, well, basically it was more than three, but they got consolidated into three majors. So Cadillac and Chevrolet were not, and Buick, they were competitors. They were independent competitors. Same with Ford and Mercury and Lincoln. They weren't all under one roof. They are now because it became necessary for efficiency, competition, and pricing for this to group together. And That's what's going to happen with AI right now. Right now, there's a great deal of excitement because we can see that there's lots of potential, but we don't know who the winners are going to be.
Correct.
That's why in a portfolio today, it's not the wisest thing to just buy a bunch of everything and pray it all works okay. a standard buy and hold, broad diversification. I just don't want to miss out. The problem with that is, as recent research from a finance professor at ASU, Arizona State University, has found, that stock market advance is driven by 4% of the stocks, and it's been that way since 1926. That's a fairly long time period to examine and find out that most of the companies that try new stuff don't figure out how to make it profitable.
Correct.
So broad diversification here is a detriment in the portfolio. Even when it comes to AI, you have to pay attention to where it's actually working. And that's going to change with some rapidity over the next couple of years.
Absolutely.
And if you're not paying attention to it, being invested in AI may be one of the biggest mistakes you make in your portfolio because you own the wrong companies.
It's true, and you really have to be careful with AI, especially, and all of the new technologies coming out. It is really, really easy to become enamored with a narrative. This is a great story. How can it lose? Well, the truth of the matter is there's 1,000 ways it could lose, but they're not going to talk about any of them. So you need to get past this is a great story. Wouldn't it be wonderful if this worked out like this? Well, yeah, it would. But you have to track the data. You have to watch the money. Are they actually making any money? Is there a real business there? Are they attracting any attention? Is cash flowing in or is it flowing out? That's the part you need to be tracking and making sure it's working in your favor, because it doesn't matter how good the story is. This story about the windowless aircraft, I mean, there's nothing but good things here. Does that mean this is going to be a success? No idea. No one knows. They're just now coming online. So we'll see if it's going to be a success or not. But you can watch those numbers. You can watch, are they making money? Are they attracting capital? Are there more competitors coming in? Those are all signs that, okay, this is going to be a going concern and these people have a leg up. This is going to be good for a while. Let's go. Other companies, you're going to say, that's a fantastic idea. And from the second day they're in operation, they will have never made a dime. Like, okay, time to move on. This is probably not gonna work out. Somebody else may use the idea, but they're not gonna make it work, and that's the important part.
You know, what that you just reminded me of is what goes on in biotechnology.
Sure.
Most biotech companies are small companies, and they have a single product, and they raise money on the hopes of a particular story that we're going to cure this particular disease, and so they attract money. They do some work, they go out and they attract more money, they provide some sort of results, they attract more money, and then they finally reach the point where they're going for licensing with an approval from the FDA, and their final tests fail, and the entire company goes away.
It goes away quick, yeah.
And then that risk is there with all these young AI startups. So one of the issues for not being in AI right now is the cross investment that's going. In fact, this week was the announcement between OpenAI and AMD. OpenAI has some potentially huge profits to make if they can help AMD achieve certain goals. There are price targets that have to be made, but both of the companies will be much better off. If you look at AI and where the money's coming from, a lot of cross investments going on. And some have raised, they say, well, why is cross investment necessary? Can't they raise money from individuals? Well, individuals are still uninformed and generally scared of the market.
Indeed.
These people understand when they talk, they understand each other. If you and I sat down and talked with Jeff Bezos about what the next phase of Amazon is going to be, the odds are he'd be talking Greek to us.
Right.
That's not going to happen. And you've got a number of these guys have said, I will risk my entire company to be the dominant leader in AI. There is tough competition. It takes a lot of capital. And if we can diversify our exposure among multiple companies, we diversify the real risk of having the loss of our entire company. This is an area that is not going to away, but it is necessary in making money to not do it blindfolded. Otto may take this plane blindfolded, so to speak, for the passengers because they're looking at screens. But when you're actually running a portfolio, in for the stock market for future capital needs, your retirement, kids' college, whatever that goal happens to be. You can't afford to do it blindfolded. You have to go with your eyes wide open. And as a pilot must do, make continuous mid-course corrections to be sure you end up on the right runway when you bring it down to the ground. If you found this interesting, share it with your friends, family, your coworkers. Subscribe and you'll get updated when we post our next one. If you want to talk about something in your portfolio that maybe you're not too sure about, is it leader or a laggard, worth keeping or not, give us a call. Phone number's on the screen. There's a link on the screen. Send us an email. We've got resources. We'll be glad to have a chat with you. It's a freebie just so you get to know us better. Thanks for being with us today. Stay tuned for our next conversation.